Folks, I am literally shaking as I make this video. This will be the first video Pav has ever sent to the Bryan Kohberger defense team. Bryan Kohberger will be ruled officially 100% not guilty and freed. Maybe because of this video and many others. Hold on to everything you got. Here's the final proof that Kohberger didn't do it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Listen to Pavarotti.
Can I be your superhero?
Hello, welcome to The Revealing. I'm your host, Pavarotti, and I'm here to discuss the Idaho 4 case. And again, I am shaking as I make this video. It's been there the whole time, but to make sure that I leave no stone unturned, we are going to discuss the newly unsealed court documents as it relates to suspect vehicle number 1. Now remember, Bryan Kohberger and the evidence compiled against him largely consisted of videos of a suspect vehicle, his so-called touch DNA being 5 octillion times more likely to be him than an unrelated individual from the general population. We've already discussed how that statistic is a manipulated statistic due to the IgG investigation. And then other than that, all they had was some digital evidence, a general description from a witness of somebody that may have been similar in size to Bryan Kohberger, even though when she's seen his actual photo, she said, nah, don't ring a bell. And then when you get into the other ancillary evidence, there really wasn't any. So it all comes down to essentially the vehicle and the DNA that is not matched to Bryan Kohberger. It's just 5.67 octillion times more likely to be him than an unrelated individual randomly selected from the population, which again is manipulated statistic due to the IgG investigation happening before they identified the suspect. Said it many times. So I believe if you just totally remove the vehicle from the equation, then you have zero case against Bryan Kohberger, and that's what we're going to do in this one. Now, we've done it many times in the past. I've been called a liar because I've suggested that they say that car is Kohberger's, and it isn't, because it clearly isn't as you look at the fog lamps on the vehicle on Nevada Street and Stadium Way, and Bryan Kohberger's car did not have fog lamps. Then they claimed it was his car at Floyd Cannabis Shop. Close examination of that video shows a vehicle with fog lamps. Bryan Kohberger's car didn't have fog lamps. Now, other people want to chime in and say, well, yeah, but you're lying, Pav, because there's no fog lamps visible on the vehicle on Ridge Road or on the gas station there at the Sunset Mart. Right. And then they conveniently leave out, which we'll do in the next video because it's reiterated again in these reports, that the vehicle seen at the Sunset Mart with the time being off 1 minute and 47 seconds couldn't be the vehicle seen on Ridge Road. It's mathematically impossible, and we have video of both to prove it. Yet they will still claim that stuff. But I'm done with all of that because those are the ancillary vehicle identifications, right? We know it wasn't Kohberger at Nevada Street and Stadium Way. We know it wasn't Kohberger at Floyd Cannabis Shop. We know there had to be 2 different vehicles from the Sunset Mart gas station to Ridge Road. But now, by the end of this video, we definitively, and I mean 1,000% will know that it wasn't Bryan Kohberger's car, most importantly, that was circling the King Road neighborhood at 406 and whipped out of there at 420. Yeah, it's happening in this one. State of the end. This is it, baby. It's gonna go down. But I'm gonna show you some other things that's gonna go down in this one as well. Because I'm gonna start calling this particular wing of the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Incompetency, the FB Incompetency. And I promise you will agree with me by the end of this video that it is the FB incompetent people in the FBI that should be removed from service if they are still actively serviced, in my humble opinion. Because when you make mistakes this big and this blatant and this undeniably, then you shouldn't even wear a badge that says FB, much less if they put incompetent at the end for the I. That's what I got to say in this one, and I think you will agree by the end of this. Hold on to your socks, folks. I don't want you running around barefoot because you ain't going to have them on at the end of this. I promise you. It's time. So when we go to the newly released court documents as it relates to the rebuttal expert disclosure, and they wanted to black out Anthony Imel, which I can imagine why they'd want to black him out now. They wouldn't want his name on this report. But what we're going to talk about is experts and how experts can be right and how they can be wrong, but how they can be grossly incompetent as well. And it talks about the anticipated rebuttal testimony that the defense submitted, and it starts with that anticipated rebuttal testimony. On January 16, 2025, defense filed an expert disclosure for Stephen Becker. For those of you that have followed me, you know I've done several videos on defense expert Stephen Becker regarding digital forensics and vehicle identification. In response to Becker's technical report, dated January 23rd, 2024, Becker's technical report, that went way back to January 23rd, 2024. Interesting. The state intends to introduce the following anticipated testimony from likely Imel. This is a likely Imel, but I'm pretty sure it's Imel. Number one, defense claim. In the make model chart number 2 by the FBI, image 8 above, and it doesn't show us image 8 above, is highlighted that the FBI concludes that the third brake light is low on the rear window. This is an assumption and not a fact, as the rear window is not visible in the image in page 8. This right here, folks, is what's going to free Bryan Kohberger in the incompetency of not only the FBI, but the lack of competency from Stephen Becker also, even though I haven't seen his report, so I can't really say that too much because I haven't seen his report, but just looking at his argument based on what I'm about to show you is very disappointing for Becker as well. But I want you to remember this because it talks about how the FBI concludes the third brake light is low on the rear window, and that's one of the defining characteristics they're using on the vehicle that's circling the King Road neighborhood to say that it's Bryan Kohberger's car. But there's more to this before we actually get into that. Probably Imel anticipated testimony. The vehicle charts are for derivative visual assistance only. The conclusion of the make, model, and year exam was conducted with the totality of the submitted videos and images, not specifically represented within the charts. So what Imel is going to claim is he took all of the video, not just the images that was shown in his chart, to make his determinations. Interesting. In probably Imel's opinion, the balcony videos, there's a couple things I just need you to remember. Third brake light's low on the rear window. The balcony videos, this is the 1112 video specifically, depicting the questioned vehicle on November 13, 2022, depicted the third brake light in the lower window approximately 6 times at the listed time. So not only are they really zeroing in on the third brake light being low in the window, but they're specifically telling us which video it's from, and they're giving us exactly the times that they're saying that this is readily identifiable. And the times they list are 3:33:01, 3:40:26, 3:58:24, 4 o'clock and 42 seconds, 4:06:34, and 4:20 and 47 seconds. So they're literally saying 8, image 8 above. The third brake light's clearly visible in the window. We don't get to see image 8. So what he specifically says is the balcony videos 6 times. He specifically says 6 different times we can determine that those brake lights in the rear window are low. And that's how we're determining what kind of vehicle it is. 6 times. And it gives us the times. 3:33, 3:40, 3:58, 4 o'clock, 4:06, 4:20, and 47 seconds. Now, the first time I looked at this, I took a double take and I went, dang, I don't remember the suspect vehicle pulling through and pulling out again at 4 o'clock and 42 seconds. That's weird. Did I miss a whole run of a vehicle all these years? And then I remembered, wait a minute, 4 o'clock and 42 seconds, that's the DoorDash driver's car. And I'll be danged. If O.M.G isn't listing in his 6 times to verify the placement of the rear tail light being low on the car, he will list one of the times as the DoorDash driver. And what's even worse is their brake light is not even low on the window. Let's look at 4 o'clock and 42 seconds. Here's the first run of it. Look, I've slowed it down. Look, there's the DoorDash driver's vehicle that we all know is the DoorDash driver pulling out, not suspect vehicle. We'll zoom in a little bit and we'll slow it down. See the tail light, brake light up there in the top of the window, not in the bottom. So not only is it not the suspect vehicle, it's the DoorDash driver driving out. Their rear tail light's not even in the right spot. So, dude, FB incompetent. You listed one of the verifiable times to identify a feature on suspect vehicle as the DoorDash's freaking sport utility vehicle? And you put this in there and you said 6 times and listed this exact time? How incompetent are you, FB incompetent? I'm guessing this was Mr. O.M.G. Can you believe this? Now, I even hate to say that and point that out, but I mean, that is the most can you believe that? Can you believe an FBI agent with all those years of experience would put that in a rebuttal in a court document when you're convicting a quadruple unaliver? And this is one of the biggest cases that the world has seen in years. And you are that sloppy to put the wrong vehicle listed as one of your determining factors on where the placement of a rear brake light is? That should be just mind-boggling in of itself. But that's not even what the focus is going to be on in this video when I show you the definitive proof that Bryan Kohberger, that's not Bryan Kohberger's car. It's unfreaking believable. It's undeniable. But we'll continue. Now, the next part is where an ineffective assistance of an expert comes into play. 3 different vehicles should have been considered during the elimination process: a 2015 Hyundai Sonata, a 2019 Subaru Legacy, and a Kia Forte, no year listed, page 16 and 18. So this is the defense's claim. This is Stephen Becker. And I believe this is O.M.G's anticipated testimony. 6,863 4-door sedans were reviewed during this examination multiple times. The 3 suggested vehicles claimed by Mr. Becker were reviewed and eliminated due to a significant class characteristic difference. The Hyundai Elantra depicted below side window has an arrowhead style shaped window. None of the 3 vehicles suggested has this specific window shape. As such, they were eliminated as a possible match. And he is absolutely correct. And I have lost some confidence in Mr. Becker because of what he is saying right here. And you can see as they give you the pictures, we've looked at this so many times, it's made our head spin, but the rear window configuration of the Hyundai Elantra is a very distinct feature of this vehicle. And they even have, look, arrows pointing to it. When you go to the Sonata is much different in the way it looks similar to the normal eye, but it's not. This is a very distinct configuration right here, and this is different. And then the Legacy is completely different. As you can see, it doesn't come to a point. It goes up and goes like that. This one comes to a straight point, then it comes down, has a little bit of a curve. This one angles up and does like a little teardrop or a little eye outline right here. And when we look at the vehicles that they're using to make these determinations, then I can agree with the state's argument on this, not the defense. And I think they should have spent a little bit more time on it, because we know the vehicles that they're going to try to claim is the suspect vehicle is, number one, this one on Ridge Road, which we've clipped many pictures, screenshots of this one. And you can see the rear window configuration clearly goes up to a point. I mean, that is exactly what the FBI was pointing to, and this does not match in any way the vehicle that the defense expert was claiming. Now, that was on the Ridge Road vehicle, but then also, when you look at the vehicle that's captured at 4:05 and 43 seconds on the 1330 Linda Lane camera and you freeze it, you can clearly see the outline of the rear window does a similar teardrop feature. So it wasn't the vehicles that the defense expert was claiming. However, it wasn't a Hyundai Elantra either, I can assure you that. I'm not going to speculate on what kind of vehicle it is because I don't want to take away from the impact of this video. And the vehicle that's seen coming west on Ridge Road that they claimed was the same vehicle at the gas station that mathematically couldn't be. This was the best image I could clip of it. And you can see where the rear kind of goes up, but there's no way to definitively claim that you could see this window configuration in this vehicle. So while Becker was focusing on this stuff, that was a losing argument. And if you go to trial, you'll have a losing argument by focusing on this stuff. And then when you get to this 2010 through 2020 Kia Forte, you can see it clearly has a different configuration than what we've looked at in all of those videos. So this argument was not good either. But like I said right here in this note, the FB incompetent wins this argument by, but they will lose in the end. They win this argument, but they will lose in the end. And the defense claim was photogrammetric measurements were not reported to have been performed by the police to determine the unknown suspect vehicle size. So photogrammetric measurements were not reported to have been performed by the police to determine the unknown suspect vehicle size. Without a size and shape overlay comparison or in-video measurements, the police did not distinguish between the models of the vehicles that have consistent size in the videos from near the incident scene. There is no evidence that the police presented that shows other models of vehicles did not have similar features to the unknown suspect vehicle or unknown vehicles of interest. For example, one popular model sedan, the Honda Accord, does not have the body line similar to the unknown suspect vehicle and can be ruled out as not similar. The police only provided confirmation bias by using a known target vehicle model and matching characteristics instead of eliminating all other potential similar vehicles that contain these characteristics. Otherwise, they would have included the Sonata and the Legacy. This fails to meet reasonable scientific certainty from their analysis. The police analysis and determination of the make and model of unknown suspect vehicles was improper and lacked other possible vehicle models with similar characteristics. Okay. So again, the FB incompetent wins that argument, and then they go on to make another argument, though, that is ridiculous. And Imel's anticipated testimony. The video depicting the vehicle in the Ridge Road video at 4:01 is not conducive to an accurate photogrammetric examination to determine the vehicle length. The vehicle is not parallel to the camera, even though this shot here looks about as parallel to a camera as anybody could ever want, resulting in the inability to visually see the rear and front of the vehicles, allowing for an accurate measurement. There is also motion blur and blooming of the headlights that obscure the front of the vehicle. Photogrammetric examination is not currently part of the standard operating procedure used for identifying a vehicle make, model, and year with the FBI. Now, this is where further clarification has to be given, because people will automatically say, well, that 401 is what Imel was talking about, the Ridge Road video, not the 1112 camera video, Pav, right? See, the 4 o'clock and 42 second, that's on the balcony video, but he just mistakenly put that in there for Ridge Road. Let's go ahead and dispel that rumor right now. So we are significantly past 4 o'clock and 42 seconds, as you see 4:01 and 45 seconds down there. So it couldn't have been this one. And let's look. Do we even see a rear brake light? Not at all. Okay. Weird. So in the end, as I'm going to show you, this entire case comes down to 333.01, 340.26, 3:58:24, 4:06:34, and 4:20 and 47 seconds, because those are the times that suspect vehicle that they claim is suspect vehicle is seen driving around the neighborhood and is caught on the balcony videos. And that is going to be the end of the case against Bryan Kohberger, because let me educate you on just a couple of things real quick. So they said 3:33:01 was the first time you could see the low brake light in the window. And let's look here. I put it on extra slow. And by the way, when you put it on extra slow and you're doing video, it's okay. You can speed it up, slow it down. It gives you more accurate representation. Unlike audio, where if you slow it down and speed it up, it makes words sound like words that you want to hear. But you can see right here, here's the vehicle. And what you're looking at right here when you see these lights, see, this is another vehicle right here, and this is the reflection of the light. So you kind of have to ignore this, and you're looking in this area right here for the actual things that they want you to see. So these lights are just reflections. Try to ignore them. And as we go through this, let's do it like this. All right. Then it comes out and then it plumes and you can't see much. So let's go back to where you can see. That blocks the tail lights, and you can see this light right here is what they're saying is the rear brake light low in the window. When we go to the other side of this, all right, so you can see right here, this is likely the tail light right here of the vehicle. And you can see it does kind of match a Hyundai Elantra. I would say this probably is a Hyundai Elantra right here. Very similar anyways, because that tail light kind of makes it look that way, but it might not be. I don't know, but it doesn't really matter because that's not the car that we're focused on. Now, the next one, it said 4:20 and 26 seconds. And again, or 3:40 and 26 seconds. So here's the vehicle right here, and you can see its rear brake light right here. Or is that the headlight? Let's see. Let's let it play. All right, that is the headlight. And then as it comes through, there's the brake light, and it kind of plumes and it keeps going. Now, let me show you something interesting about this vehicle. I don't think this is the same vehicle as the first one, just simply because of this. And this is what's going to end up freeing Kohberger in the end. You see, when you really slow it down, and they gave us the exact time to look at, you see that right there? You see this big, giant, illuminated, I don't know if it's the tail light, probably the tail light, but you also see this chair right here. See this chair? The back of this chair comes up and it goes like this. So what you're seeing is, it looks like that's where the tail light stops, but it actually don't. That's where the chair right here is blocking this tail light from being actually seen. So this tail light right here is being blocked by the chair. This is clearly a big old tail light on this vehicle that's pulling out here at 3:40 and 26 seconds. You got to remember this image right here, because this isn't Bryan Kohberger's car. This isn't an Elantra right here. This is a different type of vehicle. It's just not the type of vehicle that the Beckers was suggesting. I don't know what it is, but it's not Bryan Kohberger's. I can promise you that, and I'll prove it. See, as it goes a little bit further, you can see it doesn't plume out quite as much. And then there's the reflection right there. And as it comes through the camera, well, we're in another second, so we're off the FBI's second timeline. So let's go to the next one. The next one is at 3:58 and 25 or 24 seconds, I guess. What was it? 3:58:24, yeah. Okay, 3:58:24, and this is a different vehicle, but as it comes through, when we first get a glimpse on it at 24, you can see it's got this big blooming rear tail light again, and it's blocked off by this chair. And that's interesting, because that's different than that first vehicle that we seen come through. It never had this big blooming rear tail light, which tells me that was a different vehicle. But let's just let it play here. So we'll let it play. You can see that big blooming tail light right there. And this is actually playing. This is actually moving video. Oh, there it goes through. It comes out. You can see the rear tail light in the window. Then it blooms. All right, so let's look at that again slow. There's the rear tail light and lower window, and then you got all of that blooming once it comes past the rail that you can't see nothing right there. So interesting. This is the one that's going to free Kohberger, though, y'all, because it is a much better view, and it's at 406.31. Let's look. 406.34. 406.31. Oh, I must have let this one play for a second. Let's let it play. 406.31, 32, 33, and then 34. Okay. There it is. And then it comes past the rail. There's the tail light, and then it blooms. Did y'all see it in this one, though? By slowing this stuff way down and knowing exactly the time to look at and what the FBI was pointing to, I discovered this. The chair didn't block it near as much this time. Look at this. It goes almost the entire back of this vehicle right here. There's the whole back of that vehicle right there. It's not just, that's why the tail lights bloom. Remember, this is reflection. This is the rear tail light of this vehicle. Look at the size of the outline of this thing. There is no way they can say that is Bryan Kohberger's car right there. And the FBI pointed to when you look at it. Look at it. You can see the entire rear end of this vehicle. And then as it goes past the lights, you'll see there's the brake light in the window right there. And then the blooming. But right here, it gives you a view of the entire back of that vehicle. That's definitive proof. That's not Bryan Kohberger's car. I'm going to send this one to the defense. So just to hit this home, here is the 340 and 26 seconds where you can see part of this rear of this vehicle right here. Here it is blown up where things are blocking the view of the entire rear of the vehicle. You can just see the left portion of it. And then here's the 406.33, which is the vehicle that they say is one that is involved in the crime. And you can see the entire rear of this vehicle. Here it is blown up down here. So here it is where you can see part of it. Here it is where you can see all of it. And look at the size of the rear of this vehicle in comparison to the vehicle. You can see it's clearly the whole back of it. And that ain't Bryan Kohberger's. And if you question it, here are those blown up views right here. And here's Kohberger's vehicle right here. Obviously not the same one. It's over. And yet another one bites the dust. So is there anything left? Is there anything left? You know, I've gone through that funnel of evidence against Bryan Kohberger so many times, and it all started with ancillary stuff, like he didn't have an alibi and he was out during the time of the crime. He drove a white car. And then we went into all of the lies that the mainstream morons perpetrated over the years that were all debunked by law enforcement after the case was over. And then we get into the Celebrite people who clearly said there's no evidence, but because he used VPNs and possibly wiped things, that there could have been evidence there. But we didn't actually find any, so what's not there, absence of evidence is not mean evidence of absence, is what we keep hearing them say. And then there's the cast, right? Well, we thought we had the cast right. We matched it up with the vehicle, and here's what you got. Then we find out through video evidence that their cast can't be right because the vehicle they said was his wasn't his. And then they say he went back to the neighborhood the next day. Well, we watched the videos of the neighborhood. It wasn't his. He didn't go back. So their cast was all wrong the night of, which meant the cast was probably wrong the morning of. And then we go into the vehicle itself, their main evidence, And we start going through and we see that 2 of them have fog lamps that they claim was his that match up to their cast. Couldn't have been his. We see that there's a vehicle with the FBI timestamps that's off at the Sunset Mart, meaning that couldn't be the same vehicle on Ridge Road. And we go, what is this? Now we have definitive proof that the vehicle that they claim was involved in the crime was not Bryan Kohberger's car due to a timestamp that the FBI told us to go and look for. I don't know what else to say, but please, if you agree with what I've said in this video, put a yes in the comments below. And if you disagree, then I definitely want to hear all of your disagreements because I want to take them into consideration. And I'm going to look at all the comments before I do send this to the defense. Because if I get something wrong, you know, I want to be right. I don't want to be wrong. I don't see how I could be in this, considering the FBI listed the time frame of a vehicle that was the DoorDash driver and claimed the rear tail light was in the wrong position even on that vehicle. You talk about sloppy and we're going to believe anything in this case? Good grief. Good grief. Anything that relates to Bryan Kohberger, that is. Please like and subscribe. This is Pav and he's out.
Oh, gonna give it a shot. Only one of me to shield you all from the enemy. You're a superhero. You're a superhero.